won't stop until I start to stand out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the happiest podcast on earth. That's right. You were listening to LorcanaCast, and we are here to talk about something really exciting and magical. That's right. The Tron attraction has opened at Walt Disney World, but we're not talking about that tonight. We're going to be talking about the brand new announcement of set number 2, and we have a special guest here, and that's going to be our friend James. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Hey everybody, I am so excited to be here. I was telling everybody that I've been following this since the early days of Lorcana hype, and it's super cool to be here actually recording with you all. So thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. So for people who don't know who you are, tell them a little bit about yourself, what you're playing, what you're doing in the Lorcana community, so that way we can kind of get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So my day job is I'm a product designer in ed tech. So I basically do research with parents, teachers, kids, and design software and products to make their lives a little easier. And then on the side, I'm just a huge lover of card games. And I decided to make it a bigger part of my life whenever Lorcana started hyping up around D23. And I've been around in the Lorcana community, hyping the game up since then. And now really focusing on building community on a local level with my small stores. I basically have 2 LGSs that I'm constantly pushing the game at, getting people to come out and play, and really just making sure that people feel welcome when they show up.
Oh, man, that is so incredibly awesome. And then we have the rest of our team. Skeffman is here. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing good, my friend. Doing good. Just ready for new cards.
Oh, yeah. And then Greg, how have you been?
How's it going? Doing just fine. Good old Saturday. Good old time to do some Lorcana casting, right?
Oh, yeah. And then Chris is actually out playing board games tonight. What a guy. He would just, not here again.
I hope he has fun.
I hope that man's playing Twilight Imperium 4 and just sitting there waiting and watching.
The game is so good.
The game is so long.
It is long, but it's fun. It's a good game. Or he could be playing Battlestar Galactica. I wouldn't be mad at that. That is a fantastic game. But we digress. We are a trading card game show, not a board game show. Maybe one day. We'll have a good chat. Yeah, we'll talk about some fun stuff. But there has been an announcement, a disturbance in the force, an awakening, if you will. And we have 13 new cards and a set reveal, which is really exciting. But before we get into those cards, there's been an interesting topic I want us to chat about, and that is power creep. And I'm going to open this up to the group because some people on the internet have said that there's power creep. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. It's awful. This game is broken. Oh my gosh, this is really bad. Lorcana's dead. Obviously, none of that's true. And then there's other people who say, no, there's no power creep. Nothing's changing. Everything's fine. It's all good. And I think the reality is there's kind of a middle ground. There's definitely an adjustment. I don't know if it's exactly power creep in terms of like Magic the Gathering, where the cards revealed are noticeably overpowered and make the previous set uninteresting. But it's definitely a shift in the way you're going to think about deck construction, resource management, and just playing the game overall. So what do y'all think about this discussion about power creep? Like, do you feel that there is power creep? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Like, let's talk about that for a second.
Sweet. Yeah. So I think it's perhaps beneficial if we try to define power creep to the best way that we can.
We have to yell and scream and type as hard as we can on our keyboard.
Oh, that's right. I got to be a keyboard warrior now.
Yeah, you got to be keyboard warriors on an audio podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, the best way that I can try to define power creep, right, is just like expanding the design space of the game to where cards get, it's called creep for a reason, right? Where cards get slightly better and better over the course of several sets. And of course, we're seeing this a little bit. New keyword, resist. So for those who have just hearing this for the first time, damage dealt to the characters that have resist is reduced by the number that is printed on the card. So these ones that we see are resist +2. And so that's a new way to introduce power creep to the game. But really, honestly, these cards, which of course we'll get into later in the episode, it's not really pushing the envelope too much. I feel like the real time that the shark has been jumped really is if they introduce like turbo quest into the game or like rush but for questing. So that will be when they jump the shark. But right now these are kind of falling in line with like the standard, like you need to create new cards that push unit sales of the product, right? And like these are kind of in line with what I'm expecting with that. But if anyone else has anything to add, feel free.
Yeah, I don't even I don't even know if we're there yet. I think power creep is inevitable, but the way that I see it is that set 1 was sort of a half of the format, and I feel like set 2 is basically going to help finish and fill in the gaps that are in each ink. I kind of feel like each ink only has like half of the cards that are relevant to playing in the game. I feel like half of them are really just like tossed to the side, and the other half are being played in decks. And I feel like each ink is missing something to make it playable on its own without having another ink to lean on. For example, like Dinner Bell is basically making Ruby have a draw engine when it didn't have one. So I see it more as completing a full picture into where like each ink's going to have its own full identity by the end of set 2 versus it like, oh, we're creeping and replacing everything in set 1 already. I don't think that's happening.
Well, I mean, just to bounce up off of that concept where it just, you feel like now that you have set 2, you'd be able to play, you should be able to play like almost a single monocolored deck, right? Mm-hmm. Where I feel like sometimes if you're doing 2 colors, like, well, I have to play this card. I don't have any other options. Right. There isn't that many options for this color left. So it'll be interesting to see like people trying to, make the monocolor decks, which would be a lot of fun.
And I think it's an interesting point. Not a lot of people have really brought up color identity or product sales, because you're both right. If they don't make anything interesting, no one will buy the cards and the game will die. So there has to be a constant flow of new, creative, interesting, intriguing, and tension building mechanics. Otherwise, why would you buy the set? But at the same point, to James, you also need something to kind of ground each ink as its own identity, because I do agree with you. I think the first set was a fantastic demonstration or taste test, however you want to call it, where it's like, here's what these colors can do. And now we're going to get a much larger palette of like, here's also some other things that they can do that they weren't able to do prior. And I think that's a great opportunity to just kind of segue into 13 new cards. And these are really exciting. So first off, let's talk about Dinner Bell. So James, why don't you read us off the card, the cost, the ability, all that stuff. And then we'll discuss, is it good? Is it bad? Should you use it as toilet paper? We'll find out next week on CNN tonight.
This is so cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this. All right. So Dinner Bell is a 4-cost uninkable item. It says, what happens. And basically you exert it, you pay 2 ink, and you basically get to draw cards equal to the damage on chosen character of yours, then banish them. And I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this, I instantly said trash. And then I kept thinking about it, and I made a tier list, tier list. Obviously, it's not super relevant, being that we don't have the full set. But over time of sleeping on it, I actually think this is like one of the best cards revealed so far. Main reason is that Ruby does not have any card draw at all, which is why it's relying on Amethyst right now to be in the top tier decks. And I think what this card is going to allow us to do is give Ruby its own draw engine, and now you're going to see other Ruby combinations pop up and be viable, like Ruby Sapphire, whatever the case might be, versus just having 2 decks in the meta. You're going to start to see more diversity. I'll give you one example of why I'm excited about this. Just trying to remove Amethyst entirely from Ruby Amethyst. For example, Maui. You might drop a Maui on any turn, and you rush and you clear something. Take 4 damage, I think is how. Yeah, that's 5 willpower. So it could take 4 damage, and then you could basically sacrifice it, draw 4 cards, and kind of just keep playing the game.
As if Maui needed to get any better.
Would you start telling the meta players how to like get more value out of Rush, please? This is bad.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Yeah. Oh Lord.
I know. I'm good.
What do y'all think about this? Like I said, I think at first I was like, what? This seems really convoluted. But I think this is going to be our first example of seeing like a black in Magic appear in Lorcana, where you're sort of sacrificing your resources to gain some advantage. I think we haven't really seen that too much. And so Dinner Bell is the first quote unquote black card in Lorcana for me. And black is my favorite color in Magic. So I'm excited.
So, my old friend.
My reaction was very similar to yours, James, where it's like, this seems very unplayable. But of course, I was making the unfair, I guess, comparison over to Amethyst, because I was comparing to like the existing card draw in the game, and I still think, I mentioned this last episode, I'm going to still mention it, just Maleficent and Defense on the Other Side, probably my favorite draw cards in the entire game. But of course, you bring up the interesting nuance, which is that this is in an ink color that hasn't really gotten draw before. And so I think that completely changes how you look at it. That being said, uninkable and having to commit 6 to it to still get that draw. And of course, the amount that you draw is conditional based on kind of what happens in the game. It can be a bit telegraphed, where if you can't pay the 6 up front, you show the opponent the dinner bell, and then the opponent may interact with you differently based on knowing that it's on the field.
Yeah,
so a bit more conditional. I think it's a bit more of like a niche type of card, but I think in the decks that find use of it, it will be very playable.
It'll be interesting to see what someone will come up with a number, like the number will be like net positive, like how many cards does it need to draw to be like worth its value.
Probably 4, right? It's
Yeah.
like playing 2 friends on the other side. Yeah,
I think it'd have to be 4
It's going to be like 4 or 5, I think.
minimum. Because if you do anything less, then you're just that's bad.
So I actually love this card when it first got announced. Not necessarily because of the draw. Like the draw abilities, James is right. It's very much like black. You sacrifice a character, do a thing. What's interesting is the verbiage that's been used in set 1. I love looking at little design aspects because obviously when cards are being designed, the designers know what's going to be in set 1, set 2, set 3, so on and so forth. So if you go back and look at the cards that we have so far, most of them say when this character is challenged and banished, do a thing. We have very few cards that say when banished, resolve effect. I don't know if we actually have any other than like Mickey and Brooms. When the broom is banished, you get to put it back in your hand if Mickey's on the field. So it's kind of cool because this card opens up a possibility where you could have cards that say when banished, do a thing. And
Like
then you can combo in with Dinner Bell. So you use Dinner Bell to sacrifice a character, you draw cards, and you get a when banished trigger. So I'm going to assume we're going to see cards that have abilities that trigger when they're banished, and it's going to be a really interesting way to see, can it combo with Dinner Bell, and you can get really big advantage off of not only do I draw cards, but I get this other thing. Like, I mean, I guess the actually the only card
Like
I can
a
think
death
of
rattle.
is I can think of Grandma Tala. She says when she's banished. I don't think it says challenge, just when she's banished, period. So like you could, obviously you don't get anything out of Grandma Tala. She's a 1/1, but yeah, her effect is when this character is banished, you can put this into your inkwell. So we have very few cards that say get banished to do a thing, but it's an open space for combo players to find really interesting interactions.
Totally. I think it's gonna sort of, like you guys mentioned, that it's sort of telegraphed when it's on the board. But it's sort of like the fact that Rapunzel exists is what made people stop letting things live on the board. Like they basically said, I have to make sure this is either gone or I'm not touching it. And then Dinner Bell's kind of sitting in that area where it's like, okay, now that this exists, I have to be careful playing against Ruby. Versus before it was only Amber you had to worry about. Now it's like, okay, if Ruby has any cards out that are damaged, they can benefit off of that and draw cards. I think what's interesting is I'm wondering if this is going to actually make some of the vanillas, or maybe we'll see higher stat cards that aren't vanilla, relevant, because there's a couple that are out there, but like most of them are usually thrown to the side. I'll give you one example. One example that no one's playing at all, but Trident, just to give you an extreme example. Like Trident is a 5/9.
Yeah.
5/9. Like imagine, like this is not realistic, but if it did happen, you have a Trident out, you clear 2 or 3 things, you banish them, and then it's sitting with 8 damage on it. You Dinner Bell it, draw 8 cards. Like it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So like just think about how much versatility that has, and the fact that it's not a one-time use. You can use it.
Whole new world +1, but only for you.
Only for you.
Exactly.
Well, it's even scarier because you could attack, you could challenge with the Triton, banish something, and then sack him for 8. Like, oh Lord.
Exactly. And I think there's a whole new gameplay style that wasn't there before. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in set 2 is we have 2 super high level decks and everything else is like a tier below it, even though they're fun. I want to see more diversity up there. And I think just seeing new play styles and new ways of approaching the game, I think Dinner Bell is one of those. And that's why I'm excited about it.
All right, speculation time. So this is clearly Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective, ring-a-linging the Dinner Bell. Do you think his character will have another sacrifice ability? Probably not draw cards, but like some kind of sack outlet where it's like, you know, banish a chosen character of yours, get a thing. What do you think that thing will be? Like, not cards. What other potential things could you get for banishing your own characters that could be interesting?
Lore, sacrifice character, game chosen lore that you sacrifice a character for.
Ooh, that's actually kind of scary.
I think removal, like trading a card for one of your opponent's card, could be pretty interesting.
Yeah. I'm actually more scared about that lore because you could quest and then sacrifice for more lore, like on the spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just shift up.
Ooh.
You're like, oh, too bad. And I'm like, nope. I've just murk it, and I'll just gain the lore and call it.
Well,
back.
it's an interesting way to extend your reach out of nowhere because we don't have
Yep.
that right now.
There's no way to play like it's just a way
other
to
than
play catch up.
shift.
Yeah.
Well, like other than shifting up and questing, there's no way to really catch an opponent off guard.
no,
So
there
if
isn't.
they don't have any shiftable targets, you can easily just math out like, here is their maximum value they could do. Okay, they can't win the game here. All right, then I'll do this. But with something like that, you could create situations where people have to respect potential surprise pieces of lore just coming out of nowhere. That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, just some sort of action and just play the action.
Interesting.
Chosen character.
Yeah.
Banish, gain lore equal to their lore value.
Oh, I love it.
I like
Someone tell
that
Steve.
one. Interesting.
Someone tell Steve.
Yeah, someone call Steve Warner. Hello, Steve. This is the LorcanaCast team. All right, moving along. Let's talk about a very interesting character. This is Elsa, Gloves Off. So it is a 4-cost inkable amethyst character. 3 strength, 4 willpower. Keywords are Storyborn, Hero, Queen, Sorcerer, and 1 lore. Very interesting ability, Challenger +3. So while challenging, Elsa is a 6/4 character. I like it. It's a common, but a 6/4, it's pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big number. 6 is kind of good. It gets rid of things like Cusco's, Tiana, who we're about to talk about. Like 6 is kind of like the magical number right now to get over a lot of threats.
Well, that's the thing. Like Challenger is going to be the answer to resist.
It's
Ooh,
going to be
yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah,
one
Challenger
of
is
the
the answer to
answers.
resist because you got a card that
Mhm.
has a cheaper card with more attack damage, and that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
hooks a 3/2 for 1. That's phenomenal.
Well, it's interesting because she's 3/4, so she's big enough to take a hit. But the Jafar we have is a 2/5 with +3, so he becomes a 5/5.
Mm-hmm.
That +1, that 6.
But Jafar is Jafar is uninkable though, isn't it?
No, it's
No.
Jabbar is
No,
like-
Inkable?
He's the
There's another one
uncommon.
that's not.
He's the one with the
inkable, I'm thinking of.
unibrow. It's kind of ugly looking.
the unibrow.
Is he the 0/4? No, the 0/4.
No,
is
he's the 2/4. You're thinking of Dr. Facilia. He's the 0/4.
thank you.
Challenger
Okay.
+2.
So,
So-
these two cards, Elsa and Jafar, have the net same stats. It's just moving 1 willpower to 1 strength.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's similar, but I don't know how often that Jafar is showing up. But I think you made a great point. The resist is a reason why Challenger is going to show up more often.
Yes.
I think that 6 strength is better than 5 willpower.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. I think this card is, for all intents and purposes, just a little bit of a better Jafar. Because, of course, on your challenging cards, you want to be dealing more damage with them. This isn't the case for this card, but I'm interested in seeing if they're going to open up design space for 0 lore challengers in the future that like are just there to do the challenging. But of course, time
That's
will
what
tell
Maui
on that.
does. That's what Maui does.
Yeah, doesn't have challenger though.
No, but he's right.
You don't
He's
need
rush
it.
reckless.
Yep.
One other fun thing about this card is it is another Elsa for the Elsa
Yep.
fans that want to build a crazy Elsa deck, and it's
Yep.
a shift target for Spirit of Winter. So there you go.
There you go.
I think this card is actually going to see a lot of play, mostly because of that 6. I really, really do. If you're going to pick one or the other, like the Jafar is going to get clapped. Also, she deals more damage in return. So if you attack the Jafar, he only deals 2. She deals 3. So she can eat up a lot of other characters that Jafar can't.
How much does a Jafar cost?
I believe he's 4 as well.
It's the
Oh, he's
same
not four,
card.
that's a four.
Just-
Oh,
the-
okay.
The
Some
slabs are
one's
just
one
moved over.
stat different. I
Yeah.
feel like the best way to
Five.
describe this card is that this card is like boring in the best possible way.
You just have that consistent, right?
Oh, Lord. All right, let's move along. I'm going to kick this off to Greg. Let's talk about Merlin, the shapeshifter.
Yo, so Merlin is a 4-cost inkable with 1 power, 5 willpower, with the ability Battle of Wits. When one of your other characters is returned from your hand, or to your hand from play, this character gets +1 lore this turn. So immediately what comes to my mind is 7-cost Facilier. If you start bouncing a bunch of your stuff back to hand, this ability is spammable, is stackable, so you can just like get a bunch of lore through that. But aside from that, there's like things like Befuddle if you choose to like return your own character to hand. But those are the 2 things that immediately pop into my head. Are there any others out there?
You could do Mickey and Broom loops.
Oh, that's right.
You can't. I wish. I don't know if you guys saw the rulings, but that's what was so heartbreaking about this. I think Steve might have clarified it, but basically, Dr. Facilier and Brooms do not trigger this because apparently they go to the discard first, so they are not counted as in play to hand.
Oh no!
Yes. Which is like, man, that feels like half of the reason to be excited for Merlin. But yeah, all of them.
Really?
Oh no!
That makes sense.
So that means we're waiting for like future cards, and there's probably going to be future cards in this set.
You have Befuddle, and you can genie yourself. Mother Knows Best yourself. Otherwise, you're waiting. You're waiting for other things.
Okay, so Facilia says whenever one of your other characters is banished in a challenge, which means it would have to go to the discard pile, you may return that card to your hand. Okay, so it has to hit the graveyard first. Interesting. I didn't realize that's how it was worded. Steve, Steve, hurting my soul here, man. Interesting.
Right,
okay, so then Mother Knows Best works. Genie Bounce works. Befuddle works.
Befuddling your own thing. Oh, that's sad.
It goes directly to your hand.
It seems less good. It seems like a lot of work to get 1 or 2 extra pips of lore on there.
Yeah. Especially because if you get 1 extra lore, you're just kind of like comparing yourself to a vanilla. It's like you
There's got to be more pieces to it because the fact that it's the face of a starter deck, I assume there's more reasons or rewards for bouncing stuff, but like bouncing into your own hand is not great.
Wait until they print like a Be Prepared that bounces everything back.
Actually, going back to Pokemon, we could see something like a Scoop Up Net that allows you to return characters to the hand. We have a lot of characters that have enter the battlefield triggers. That's like when you play this card, do a thing.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of reducers like Lantern, like the Mickey we're about to talk about. So like I could see some combo plays where you set yourself up where you can return cards to your hand and then reduce their cost to come back in. And then you get their triggers of leaving the battlefield gives Merlin bonuses, playing them back onto the field gives you bonuses. Like I do agree though. I think there's more pieces to this puzzle than we're aware of at the moment.
Yep.
If I had to speculate before we move on to the next thing, we're going to talk about it with Tiana, but the fact that this and Tiana are the face of a starter deck and they seem to be polar opposites in terms of what they want to be doing, there's got to be something to bouncing stuff to your hand, reducing their cost to make you play them all out again so that Tiana makes sense to be paired with this. Because Tiana wants to have your hand empty. So I'm curious. We'll see.
Yeah. Skeff, any thoughts?
It's one of the things where like it just seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Or like it's a fun concept where it's just like, oh yeah, I remember that scene in the movie, and you're like, oh, but it was just like playability wise, I'm just like, this seems like a lot of work just to get 1 extra or maybe 2.
Okay, I'll say this: we do know there's a Madam Mim in the starter deck. She could have abilities to allow her to return herself back to your hand. Maybe replace herself with her magical version because she like changes into different characters into the films.
Shape-shifting.
So she might have an ability where like you can return Madam Mim A to play Madam Mim B for free, and that would trigger Merlin's ability, and so you could kind of like spam that potentially.
Can't you just let's just attack Cruella 10 times?
Ouch. Oh. That actually makes Cruella interesting because she can return your own cards to your hand, and that would trigger Merlin. Oh, okay. Okay. There's combo plays here. I like it. Yeah, but it's a lot of work. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about Mickey Mouse. Mr. Skeff, why don't you tell us about the friendly face of the man himself?
Oh, boy. Whenever this character quests, pay 3 less for the next character you play this turn. So yeah, that seems good. That just
What are stats?
We're at 1/6 for the stats. So just a very card, like it's just a very defensive card that's just like it's a wall. I'm just gonna hang out here. I'm gonna quest, see if I can survive a couple turns, and just give you a couple. Pay 3 less for the next character you play. So because it doesn't say, oh yeah, so it's just once per turn. So yeah, so every time you quest, you get 1 for 3.
And he quests for 3 lore, and he costs 6. He is inkable, and he's an amber, which is a great setup.
Seems good. He seems like he's glad you're here. So that's what,
It's the same stat line as Moana, which is interesting.
Yeah,
but it costs 1 more.
Oh yeah, Moana's 5, and yeah. It's just interesting. Just that paying 3 less. It's just because basically it makes Yeah, it makes me. I think about it like, oh, it makes Mickey he only costs 3. Is how I think about it.
You can play a Bodyguard Goofy for 2. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Or if sometimes, of course, if this card stays, I'm so glad they made this card beefy and not the other way around. Because if it stays, if you're able to quest twice with it, you get a free Mickey for all intents and purposes. Yeah, this card is really good. I'm liking it quite a bit. Of course, the 6 cost is a little bit heartbreaking because of a particular action card from the previous.
Oh, you know they did that on purpose.
I wonder
it's
why.
on purpose.
I
Right?
wonder why they made them 6 instead of 5.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, this card would be broken in half.
Then you're just like, I'm going to play this game. What do? I'm just going to play things for free. Enjoy. Have fun.
We all immediately looked and were like, is it a 5 cost or less? No!
Yeah, exactly. I think it's spot on. I mean, you still combo it with
Lantern.
Or just like way to speed it out. Get some Talas or one jump ahead, and then you can play it early, and then you start playing everything else early.
That's gross. Oh, yeah, he's kind of good in a ramp deck.
Yeah, because then think of you get to play your Talas for free and your Mickey Mouse Detectives for free.
I like the card. I think it's a very, very good enabler for ramp decks.
Because the trick is you need something defensive. Like the ramp seems to lose to rush and aggro, right? So here's a defensive card that also quests you for 3 lore that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
So it just feels like a good thing to. It just seems like something that ramp was missing. Where just I hope I can get to this big creature. I have nothing else in the middle. I have garbage and then big creatures. There's nothing in the middle.
It makes that aerial that can search for songs really interesting because you can early game ramp. Mid-game dig through your deck and then get Mickey Mouse out and just drop a bunch of humongoloid questers and then use Rapunzel to heal and draw. And 1/6 is really 1/6 and 3 lore is really good. Oh, also these are great targets like Mickey and Moana, immensely good targets for Hakuna Matata because they're big enough that it's kind of hard to take them out. However, that 6/4 Elsa is looking pretty good now.
Printed as the foil.
I'm just saying, 5 willpower was good. 6 willpower is kind of the number you need to hit because a lot of these threats are in the 6 range. Mickey Mouse, Moana. It's just, oh my gosh. It's so interesting how there's so much play and counterplay and just the 4 cards we've talked about. But any other thoughts on Mickey? All right, fair enough. Let's move on to really, really easy card. Raya or Raya. I cannot remember how to pronounce it. I'm going to get commentated on. Raya. Okay. So this is from... Shoot, why can't I...
Raya and the last...
Our movie Raya.
That's right. Having a brain fart. I had too many eggs for dinner. It's a 5/3 Ruby character. No abilities. Uncommon. 1 lore. Thoughts? It's a card... I don't know.
It's Scar. They somehow did Scar again.
That means we just get more characters from that movie.
If you like Scar, then you'll love this.
2 Scars.
I didn't love Scar, so I don't love this.
Wow. Maybe she'll have a pin in the OP kit since Scar had a pin in the OP kit.
Oh, well, yeah, that would work as a great OP kit card.
Otherwise,
this card will be in my binder.
She does have the princess keyword. I'll give her that.
Can quest for 1.
There are some interactions. Well, you can quest and then reset and then challenge. I'm suspicious we're going to see more keyword interaction in set 2. So all these cards that have character things, like hero, sorcerer, yada yada. What else are we looking for? Queen, ally. I really think set 2 is going to have cards that give them some kind of ability or buff or even tutoring. We could see that since there's some times where you just kind of dead draw in Lorcana.
It'll be interesting if they add tutoring to the game.
I think we're going to see it.
It'll be very interesting if that happens.
Well, there's so many times where you're playing the game and you're just kind of locked at top decking and it feels bad because you're like, if I just could get my hands on X or Y.
That's a lot of games. It's a lot. There just isn't much draw out there.
Well, a lot of games have ways to mitigate that, and Lorcana doesn't. So I would believe that these keywords aren't there just for show. There's going to be interaction in some capacity. Mm-hmm. So I feel like set 2 is a great opportunity to throw a bone and have a couple cards that say, allies get +1/+1, or, princesses get +1/+0, or something that makes those keywords relative, because right now it's just like, oh, hey, cool. Other than Moana and Hades, keywords aren't particularly necessary in the game right now.
I don't want to go too far into speculation land here, but I would love it if there's like potentially like, let's say you can play an ally only deck, but there's some sort of ruling in the game where you can go up to 3 inks if you like you're locked into like specific traits.
Wow, that would be cool.
Be pretty interesting. But I think you're right on the money there, Sugi. We saw a glimpse of like traded, like quote unquote archetypes type stuff in the last set, but like it was, when I say a glimpse, it was just a glimpse. Like, princesses were arguably like the most well developed there, but still didn't really turn out to be a deck in the end. And then of course there was like the slightest hint of villain support in the last set as well. So interesting to see where this is going to go.
All right, moving along, let's kick it back to our guest, Mr. James, on the Sorcerer's Spellbook.
All right. This is an Amethyst, a 3-cost uninkable item. The ability is Knowledge. Exert it and pay 1 to gain 1 lore. I think this one is slept on, in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing. I think this is another one that changes the way people play the game. The main reason being that there right now is not a way to instantly gain lore. The closest thing is shifting a card and being able to gain a little more than you would have. And so it changes the game in terms of right now, the top 2 decks that people are saying are top tier. They're the ones performing the best are Ruby Amethyst and Amber Steel. And Ruby Amethyst in particular is extremely oppressive. It's constantly, once you get past turn 7, they are taking everything off the board. Be Prepared, Maleficent, Dragonfire, the list goes on. But a lot of time, once they get to that point, you're sitting at like 18 lore. And it's nice to know that there are going to be cards that allow you to instantly gain lore and kind of bypass that board clearing phase, essentially. And again, just like the Dinner Bell, I think this is going to allow Amethyst to break away from Ruby Amethyst and play other decks that might break into the meta. And not to even mention like the fact that you could stack this and have multiple on the board. I think it's more so about the fact that pay 4, gain 1 lore is now something you have to account for when you end your turn. Can my opponent basically say, pay 4, gain 1 lore and win the game? Now I have to be careful.
See, I joked about Turbo Questing earlier.
Yeah, then can we just play 4 spell books and then just every turn just gain 4 lore and a ramp? It'll be funny.
You can.
I'm going to win by playing no characters.
It might come eventually. I mean, the fact
action deck.
Ruby Amethyst is almost full of items and spells. Like you're getting to the point where, you could literally get to the point where you're just gaining lore and clearing the board, and that's how you win.
That'll be the win condition.
Get rid of my item.
It'll be like the one Snapcaster mage that eventually swings for a game in a controlled deck.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I'm gonna swing for 1 to win.
I remember that. It is interesting that you can, with this new release, pay 4, gain a lore out of nowhere. And that gets reduced with things like Belle, who quests and reduces, Maurice, who quests and reduces. Isn't there an item reducer card?
Yeah, Facilia's cards.
Facilia's cards. Yeah. So
that's actions. That's actions. So no.
Oh, you're right. I was like, no, it's questers. So there's a lot of interesting things.
Belle and Maurice reduce.
You can ramp. So, you can just ramp these things out and then boom, you've got tons of lore. It's pretty spicy. This card will definitely change the game because you have to look and go, they've got 4 lore, card in hand. They're at 19. Uh-oh.
These stocks continue to go up, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, stonks.
What I'm most excited about this set, like I mentioned, in terms of the fact that it feels like all the ink identities are not complete yet, and I see set 2 as being what's going to round them out. I'm just excited to see more decks be competitively viable. I know there's a ton of decks that are fun. There's a ton of decks that have some edge, but unfortunately at the moment there are 2 very clear top tier decks, and I want there to be more of those. I wanted to feel like you can go to your locals and play different types of decks and not just those 2, and actually be able to compete at a high level, I guess. And I think this Dinner Bell is going to allow Amethyst to break away and have other decks. So I'm excited.
Spellbook also works really well with Ariel. Whatchamahooza-call-it.
Yeah. Whatchamahooza-call-it.
Yeah, you can. She's like that. What's that candy bar? Whatchamacallit? Whatchamahooza. It's really delicious.
Those are delicious.
Yeah, total tangent, but I could go
Snickers?
for one of those. Those are good too. I do like Snickers.
Guaranteed to satisfy.
Is this an ad? Are we paid?
No, not really. I just want a Snickers now.
Snickers,
or whatchamacallit, who's it? But think about it. You could quest with an Ariel, play the spellbook, untap Ariel, quest with an Ariel, and then quest with a spellbook. So you could get 3 lore for 4
Yeah,
with
there's
the
a
right
lot going on.
combo. That's pretty spicy. I like that. Very
I love it,
nice.
I love it.
All right,
Eye of
moving
Fates
on.
is super close. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, because
No,
Eye of
go-
Fates is super
but-
close to being a great card. It is a good card, but it's like you have to have a character to use it. And so, like, this is basically like, okay, you don't have to worry about that anymore. But
and cost 1
this-
less.
And oh yeah, exactly. My favorite fun deck to play right now is Tamatoa items, even though it's not amazing. So seeing items have some sort of viability besides just being there to make Tamatoa cost for more is fun. I'm excited for that.
I bet there'll be
I
some
think
sort of card
Tamatoa
that
items is going to be a very
reduces
good
items.
Oh yeah, that's true. We could see a character that reduces the cost of items. Just
Like if it's like if this
passively.
character is exerted or if this character is ready, they reduces the cost of your item.
ooh.
Well, Maurice and Bell both when they quest they reduce the
But you have to
cost.
quest though, so it's just
Yeah,
like that thing where
exactly.
it's just like
You're right.
you still have to quest. Like if there's like a constant where like resist or just like -1 to your item cost or something.
Oh yeah, for sure. Love that.
Spicy. All right, Mr. Skeffman, let's talk about Tiana. So tell us
So-
her stats and all the
her-
cool stuff. What color is she?
So she is steel, which is gray. In case anyone was curious, she is a 4-cost, uninkable, 1/4, kind of bland. But wait, it gets better. She has resist 2. What does that mean? That means her damage dealt to this character is reduced by 2. Huzzah! That means she just has. If you have to attack her every time, it's just -2, -2, -2. It gets really annoying. But the ability is interesting. Where I think it could have maybe potential down the road, where this character is exerted, you have no cards in your hand. If it didn't have that second part, I'd be like, all right, that's nuts. But it
Yeah,
says, while this is exerted and you also are top decking, so no cards, your opponent can't play action cards, which is a very interesting way where like I wonder if there's a way that like coming soon or whatever, where you can like put cards at the bottom of your deck at the end of your turn, and then you have no cards, but then some like it's just the concept of just like a lock where like they specifically made this card to say, hey, your actions, yeah, that sucks to suck. You can't use them. It's just the concept is there of just like some sort of like lock deck.
Yeah, definitely with like Emerald, right?
Emerald
I-
Steel.
I don't know if it will be
Forgot
super
all.
great, but
Oh, it's not going
I
to be great at
love
all.
the
I
idea
just-
of just like anti-fun. Like,
Yes.
it's like, hey, do you like having fun? Well, I apologize.
Yeah.
You know?
it's like the card, like it's
Mother
it's on-
Gothel.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where like
Jasper.
it's just so
Oh.
hard to have like if you have no cards in hand, that's terrible. That's not a good place to be.
Not
in.
a good place.
And also if it like sure it's exerted, that just means it's open up to damage and like it could just go away, or like LeFou could be like, oh you're ready, congratulations, enjoy your readiness. Now play actions. We're like it's just they decided to do it, which I'm like it's not great, but I think in the future they're open to more of that type of block, in my opinion.
I don't think Lorcana will ever explore this, or at least not yet. But this sounds like a card that would fit really well into a sideboard. But I don't want to open that can of worms.
Oh
yet.
no! Why you gotta? Oh,
Oh
Lord.
no! Already did it.
man.
My bad. Whoops. Move
No.
on.
Jeez. We'll talk about that later. There's just not enough information to. We'll speculate. Future episode. I love this Tiana, regardless of her ability. She quests for 2. She's a 1/4. She reduces 2 damage. So your fire the cannons don't do anything. Your Tinkerbell, both her AoE damage and her extra 2 damage don't do anything. Your grab the swords don't do anything. So she's a very, very tanky character. And I personally think we could see items with equip abilities. I don't know if it'll happen in set 2, but I would love for a way to give this Tiana bodyguard, because resist and bodyguard are like the best combo ever. You need spot removal to deal with something of that nature. Even Tiana at a 1/4, like she effectively has it's a 1/6. Again, going back to that 6, looking at you, Elsa. She's just got so much durability. And you either have to deal 6 damage in 1 poke, or you have to use single target removal or mass removal, like Be Prepared, Dragon's Fire, Let It Go, Your Mom, whatever, to just get her off the board. I also love the art. This is one of the few cards I think that they really did well on the face.
Agreed.
Because some of these faces look like constipated or sorry, Elsa, I'm gonna pick on you.
Elsa.
She looks like she's like passing gas or like really high. I don't want to be like too inappropriate, but she just has a very like blasé face.
Do you
And
just
then
say
Tiana
Elsa was
looks-
high?
No, Tiana looks great. Like there's a lot of sass and spunk and like the mask and the crown and the artwork and the moonlight. And it's like, oh, this artwork is like perfect. It's so good.
It's beautiful, and it's got
Really
like the New Orleans Mardi Gras like hints with the mask. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it actually looks like they took a page out of the film because a lot of these characters look like artistic expression, so they're kind of sort of that character. I would absolutely see Tiana doing this in like, the second film or a TV show or something. Like, just looks great. Absolutely amazing. Wonderful art. Any other thoughts before we move along?
One other point is obviously that it has that princess tag, so it's kind of anti with Moana because you want this to be exerted. But if there is more princess synergy, you gotta always respect that tag for sure.
Yeah,
I expect with the Cinderella we're going to talk about later, there's got to be more princess synergy in Steel coming. So we'll see.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right, moving along. Let's talk about the greatest wizard in terms of attack and defense. That is the Dark Magician Winnie the Pooh, the Honey Wizard. He is a Amethyst 5-cost inkable card, 5 strength, 5 willpower, 2 pips of lore, 0 abilities. I know this card's been getting a lot of flack because the playmat for this card looks amazing, and then it's a vanilla character. I think this is just a great card. It's a 5/5 for 5 with 2 pips of lore. 5 is a very powerful number. There's lots of ways to get this card out early. You can use just in time. You can use all kinds of ramp abilities. You can get him out turn 4 with Lantern. I know it's a vanilla, but like 6/6/6 Kronk is like just on the range of like kind of ish good, but not so good.
There's so many modifiers to that statement.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I'll give you some hope. The 5-drop Cerberus is now seeing play in Amber Steel songs, at least in competitive scenes.
Yeah.
And that's a 5/6 cost that costs 5 and it costs for 1. So this is basically trading 1 willpower for 1 extra lore. So that means it could have a shot. It could have a shot. Yeah.
I definitely think this Winnie the Pooh has a place. Now, in limited environments like sealed or draft, I absolutely would take this in a heartbeat.
A common too.
It's a 5/5 for the big thing is a 5/5 with 2 lore. That is big. That's a hard body to drop. It's a good cost and 2 lore. Lots like you can't insta-gibbet with Zeus because he's a 4 or less deleter. So he's big enough to withstand a lot of the rush things. He can trade out with Maui, which is fine, but you still get the lore. You can quest sideways, and if someone tries to swing something into him, sure, let's trade your Maui for my Pooh. I still got the 2 lore. Oh, you have to use a Zeus plus a cannons or some other ability. So Winnie the Pooh can set up for a really consistent amount of 2-for-1 trades if done appropriately. Minus, of course, the Elsa we keep talking about because she could just bonk and donk him. I just like him. I know it's vanilla. I like his art, and I really think the stat line is pretty good.
I mean, hey, and also if we're talking about power creep in the most strict sense, this is it. Because if you compare it across to Jumba, it's a 1 extra power for the same cost.
Yeah, it's true.
I will say when I was a kid, when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, even though Blue Eyes White Dragon was definitively the better card, I was always Team Dark Magician. So let's go Winnie the Pooh. Let's go.
Yeah, we just need to like get an artist to draw like the Dark Magician hat, and it's literally Dark Magician. Like, let's be honest, he's got the staff and everything. He's got the cowl or cape, depending on what you call it. This card's cool. Also, the sorcerer tag, I think, is going to be relevant here
eventually. Yeah,
because he could have easily been just
they're all going to be. I think they're all going to be important down the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there'll be some sort of permanent item that'll come into play. That'll be while this is in play, all of your sorcerers get +1/+1. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that there's no reason that things like that wouldn't exist. You know what I
It
mean?
seems like sorcerers are on the more magical scale. So like Merlin wants to bounce things to get bonuses. What's the other sorcerer? Oh, Mickey's a sorcerer. He has the brooms.
Almost every Amethyst card is a sorcerer, at least the majority of them.
Yeah. So I could definitely see sorcerers, like, you could play maybe an action card and reduce its cost by the number of sorcerers you have or something really cool. But I just think, even though vanillas might not be the most interesting thing in the world, he's still got a really good stat line to just kind of help support. Also, amethyst bodies traditionally aren't very powerful. So I think he's going to help kind of push some of those bigger values in challenges if necessary. All right, moving along, let's talk about a card I'm really, really excited about. We'll kick it over to Greg. Zero to Hero. What is this? What can it do? Why should you play it?
All right, this is a 2-cost uninkable action in Amber, 0 to Hero, to represent the iconic Hercules song. Of course, it's a song, so you can exert a 2-cost or higher in order to sing it for free. And then you count the number of characters you have in play. You pay that amount of ink less for the next character you play this turn. Synergizing very well with, of course, Amber's strategy of going wide, but also there's an Amber card that we looked at earlier that I think would love to be played at earlier in the Mickey Mouse. So what do you think about this?
I want 0-cost characters is what I want. That's what I want. No big deal.
Already goes well in the established Stitch archetype that we've seen, right?
The fact that it's a song, we have to instantly respect it, even if it isn't even amazing. The fact that it's a song, right now, Amber Steel Songs is really good. That's currently the deck that I play when I'm playing competitively. And I play 15 songs in my Amber Steel Songs deck just to mathematically make it impossible almost to miss on Ariel. Because if a fourth of your deck is songs, then when you look at the top 4, you're going to see a song in most cases. So I'm seeing a lot of people play literally even Hakuna Matata, which isn't amazing. So the fact that it's a song adds to Ariel's kind of toolbox of digging through the deck and finding a song to play. And so even without that tag, I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be good or not. But just because of the song, instantly respect.
How many times have you played Hakuna Matata in a game of...
A couple times, but it's not common. It's usually a land for me. It's basically a land in my deck. That's how I see it.
Yeah, but you get
land
it for free.
+1.
Yeah, but Ariel's digging to give you a free ink. I mean, no complaints there.
Hard to argue that.
I think this card is going to be pretty meta defining because there's a lot of decks that can go wide really fast, especially with like Simba Bodyguard. And you could, so if you play like, Lilo on turn 1, Simba on turn 2, turn 3, you could sing this for free, reducing the cost of a card by 2. You have 3 ink in play. So you could play a 5 cost on turn 3. That's pretty impactful.
Oh my gosh, you just made me okay. So aggro decks are basically like, this is gonna make that deck work more because basically aggro is on a 7-turn clock before Be Prepared comes in and ruins their day, and so they have to win the game at turn 7
or 5-turn clock if
they play Aladdin,
or Tinkerbell.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, because that'll do enough 3 damage because you can play the swords and Tink at the same turn.
Exactly. So I guess this just gives them an extra layer of being able to get to that win faster, but we'll see. I don't know, how does that work in the curve? I'm not exactly sure. Someone would have to sing it for it to work.
This improves mid-range decks a lot.
Oh, yeah?
I think you're going to be able to see some mid-range decks really pop off, especially with like the Bell we're about to talk about. There's a lot of cards at that 5-drop range that you want out early. Just in Time is a great example of the game trying to push 5-cost cards out to the forefront faster. And so between 0 to Hero and Just in Time, you're going to be able to get some of those bombs online really fast. And I can definitely see this card being, especially because it's a song, it's not an action. So you can use some of these characters. Simba wants to be sideways.
Yep.
Simba absolutely does not care about being unexerted. So being able to put a bodyguard into the place it wants to be and you get to reduce the cost of cards. How is that not just hyper value town? Also, if you just wait until turn 4, if you wait until turn 4, you could drop a Mickey.
Mhm. So that's actually one thing that's interesting to note. In this scenario, in the first scenario that you pointed out, I still think just in time is going to be better for that turn 3 play. But of course, this card scales the more characters you have in play, and so I think really what we're looking for is that turn 4 and beyond to play like a real beefy boy later in the game. But of course, that Mickey.
You could be really funny and drop a bunch of 1-drops, and someone did the math. I think it's turn 1 you play Lilo, turn 2 you play 2 1-drops, turn 3 you play another 1-drop and a Simba or something. Basically, you get 4 or 5 things on the board, and then on turn 4 you'll have 4 ink and 4 to 5 bodies. You sing 0 to hero for free, and you can get out Maui.
That'll be fun.
Okay, or Cinderella, who we're about to talk about. You can get these 5, 6, 7, 8 drop cards. You could even get out the Elsa Spirit of Winter. I mean, there's a lot of, or I like Ursula at 7, the 2/8 big 3 questing monster. She steals a lore, or they lose a lore and you draw a card, like gas, straight fire. There's a lot of combos you can pull, really spicy.
It's always good when you get a song that's a great song in the Disney canon. That's also a good card. That's always great, because Reflection being a bad card definitely broke my heart.
It's tough out here.
Actually, I've lost games to that card, so I don't know.
To Reflection?
Yeah. Someone stacked it, and then they drew a card. They drew the 2 with friends. I was like, oh no. Because
did you lose to Reflection, or do you lose to the card that they drew?
I lost the card they drew, but they played Reflection, and the third card from the top was Grab Your Swords, which they proceeded to put on the top, then sing to get the friends on the other side, and then hard cast swords and wipe my board. I was like, yeah, that's how that works. You get to dig. It's very good. It's very, very good. All right, moving on. We are close to the end of the episode, so we're going to kind of speed this up a little bit. So we have the Queen. It is an amber card, 5 cost, inkable, 4 strength, 3 willpower, Floodborn, villain, and queen. Very cool tags. Shift 2. You may pay 2 ink to play this on top of one of your characters named the Queen, which at this point we've got 2 revealed, 1 in amethyst, 1 in amber. I'm sure there's more. She can quest for 2 pips of lore, and who's the fairest? Whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character gets -4 strength this turn, and chosen character gets +4 strength this turn. Ooh!
Now this is a combat trick.
Now this is pod racing.
Combat trick.
This is pod racing.
This is pod racing.
Combat tricks in this game previously were not very good because they would give you less than 1 card's worth of value for 1 card. And this is just, of course, you can shrink down, one of the opponent's characters, beef up one of your guys. Very good. What's actually immediately noticeable to me about this card is that this is the first shift that shifts for
3 less.
Yeah, 3 less instead of 2 less. Typically, it's like across the board shift is for 2 less. I wonder if that has to do with the cost of queen cards that are going to be in the upcoming set, or like kind of what determines that. But it is something that's interesting to know. This is the first thing that shifts for 3 less.
That's a good point. I'm curious if we're literally going to get a 1-cost queen, or if this is more of a side grade situation where there's going to be a bunch of queens that are literally just swapping on top of each other, and that's why it's so cheap to shift. We'll see. I'm curious if they do a 1-drop. I'm not sure.
I hope so. I want it. As a gamer, I want it. I don't know if it's going to really happen. I love everything about this card. You can shift, you can quest. It's a 4/3 is not bad, but the ability to go, hey, that thing over there has 0 attack. Also, this thing over here is +4 attack.
Yeah.
Well, not even that. I mean, like you could do some dumb things where you turn off a Maui and then make your thing an 8 whatever and go boink. You could. Man, it's really scary. You could, if you do this with Mickey brooms, you can turn brooms into 6/2 missiles. Gross.
The thing that's most exciting about this, besides all the other, information on the card, is the villain tag, mostly because I'm desperate for the Hades villain deck to actually exist. And so every villain card in Amber that shows up, it's like, please. Please.
like you'll be able to run the keyword decks, I think, probably by next Gen Con. Like they'll be 3 or 4 soon, young one.
I want themed tribal decks. I think that'd be fun.
Unfortunately, James, I think the thing that you're looking for is just Hades to be better, but that
is also
rare Hades is really good. It's the shift Hades that's questionable.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, 0 to hero might help get him on the board faster. Now that we think about it,
synergy
that could help. All right, synergy. Yeah, moving along. All right, we've got a card here that's had a lot of attention brought to it, and that is Bell Hidden Archer. Mr. Greg, I think you want to talk about this card.
Yes, this is my favorite card from the new reveals. All right, 5 cost, uninkable, Bell Hidden Archer, an Emerald, 3 power, 3 willpower, shift for 3. So back to the standard shift cost. All the fun with Queen is over. Thorny Arrows. When this character is challenged, the challenging character players discards all the cards in their hand and quest for 3 lore. Interestingly enough, I feel like this finally opens up space for Reckless or the Reckless card to be played again. So the Beast's Mind wasn't super playable, might be playable now, but I think the part about this card that really got me excited is that 5 numerical value printed in the top left.
More just in time.
Yeah, immediate synergy of just in time. Being able to play this on turn 3 is pretty nasty.
I have one word for you: smash.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Why you got to ruin my feelings, man?
It's just a fact. It's just a fact of life,
man.
That you can also play on turn 3.
Man, brutal.
I love this card. I'm gonna play it in an aggro Amber Emerald deck for sure. It's just, man, I wish it was 3/4. I wish it was 3.
We just need an item that gives it +1 willpower.
Nuts. Straight nut. This card would be oppressively unfair if it was a 3/4.
Yeah, that's definitely the risky run. Smash definitely is a very good out, especially if we play just in time. That hurts. It goes 2 for 1 with that much real effort there. But
feel the burn, Spike. Give me pictures of Spider-Man.
I think what will make this actually push through is I want to see the 2-cost Bell in Emerald. I assume it's going to have something related, like maybe it's a Flynn type card that's just annoying, and to make it worth it, to where that card did something and now you're shifting and maybe it survives enough to quest and maybe empty their hand.
Or it's terrible.
I think it's going to depend on if the 2-cost Bell is good by itself.
Or if aggro is just
value.
Yeah, or if aggro is just the best strategy in the next set anyway, and it's I can challenge into it because I have no cards anyway.
Have a good day. Goodbye.
Actually, that's a pretty good way to get Tiana online. Actually, you just dump your hand and go, cool, I'm questing, no actions. She Bell, what gets really good with Bell is Dreaming Guardian Aurora, giving everything ward. Because now you can't smash Bell. Haha.
That's true. And again, Princess.
Yeah. So the Princess package.
This card probably is a little bit overrated based on the reaction we've seen initially, but don't get me wrong, still a really great card, and I'm excited to see what we can get brewing with her. So
she's a legendary for a reason. She's got some great stuff going for her.
Gantu was a legendary too.
Yeah. That's legendary in the game.
Man, just throwing that out there. Gantu was
James just dropping straight flames on this episode.
Yeah, for all you Gantu players out there, sorry. You can email James on his Twitter account.
There's 2 of them.
The Illumiteers love Gantu, so send them all your Gantus.
Yeah.
You send all the Gantu.
A binder full of Gantu.
Oh boy.
It's you got trades, and then you open up the binder. It's just all Gantu.
And if we ever have another pandemic and people run out of toilet paper, it's we've got it. We've got Gantus. We'll be safe. Oh, Lord. All right. Moving along. Let's talk about Monsieur Gaston, the intellectual powerhouse, which I'm pretty sure is incorrect in every single aspect. But that's okay, because he's Floodborn, so it's possible he's learned things.
The brain is a muscle he can lift as well.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you so much. That is not how. Oh,
Oh my gosh.
oh
his
my
brain can do more curls than
Oh
he is.
no.
Okay,
His brain's
All
doing
right.
curls.
it is.
Man, he didn't miss brain day. Just 1, 2. All right. So he is a Sapphire 6 cost non-inkable, 4 strength, 4 willpower, Floodborn villain, shift 4. You can pay 4 to play this on top of another Gaston. He can quest for 3, which is really nice. Sapphire is getting a lot of 3 questers, which is gross. Like their lore battery count is becoming like, hey, all the things we play, quest for 3, deal with it.
And also, I feel like it speeds up. Like I feel like more cards coming with more lore. That'll feel like it'll speed up the game almost.
That's another conversation for, is that a good thing or not? Because then the game becomes like too fast.
Then it's a race.
Well, it's already a race.
It's already a race, yeah. So it's not.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how many more are out there.
See, that's actually a good conversation for power creep. Like, is it too fast with everything having 3 lore? Like, I don't know. But we have an effect still. Developed brain. He did it. He read the rule book. So when you play this Gaston, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put 1 into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So it's a super brain development. You can look at the top 3 instead of the top 2, and then just add 1 to your hand. I like it.
I'm not a fan. I wish it was a quest ability instead of a play, because it's a one-time use, and I'm just like, meh.
Ooh, but if he
I
quests,
wish
he's gonna get challenged and banished. He's squishy already.
Yeah, I feel like if it was the quest ability gives you the opportunity to have at least more than once. This is just, all right, I'll get it one time, and then that's it.
I suspect we're going to see more ways to return cards to your hand. So it's possible we could see ways to.
He costs 6.
But you could shift him.
Yeah, that's true.
So you could have a couple. So this is kind of like that evolution chain in Pokemon where you can have a couple Gastons.
Yeah.
You play this, activate the ability, return it to your hand,
and then play on the other Gaston.
Play it again, and yeah, you can kind of chain out the ability.
Well, technically, can't you, like, they don't have, like, you if you play a card, can't you shift at the same term you played it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Usually it doesn't come at a cost reduction, though.
No,
You're paying more than to, like, hard cast.
Unless the playability is that good, so.
Right. But I think he's good. I like him. He's not, like, triple S god tier meta defining, like, some cards we might talk about here in a moment, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think the immediate comparison is what Robin Hood, because that's like the other draw card. And this sits like right about on Robin Hood's level, I think. So maybe this might be slightly better, but Sugi, you make a great point. Good flavor with this card. Read the rule book before Gaston was like, "Wait, you're telling me I got a quest to win this game?" This one quest now. So
yeah, he's like, there. You're telling me I have summoning skills. I can't attack the player directly. No, my friend, this is not Yu-Gi-Oh. This is Lorcana. Okay. He's like, my life points are at 8,000. No, my friend, that is the wrong game. And now he's capable of not only reading the rule book, but drawing on chalkboard with his finger.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his drawing is not going to be super successful because he can't look into the future at what happens in the movie and his untimely death. Spoiler, Snape kills the professor. Anyways.
He's definitely doing the whole buddy Jesus pose, so I approve.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh, hello there. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up and talk about Cinderella and then get on out of here because we've got family members, things to do, and it sounds like there's a storm outside, and that's not good for me because sometimes I lose power and internet. Anyways, Cinderella, Stout-Hearted. This is definitely the card most people are talking about across the interwebs, the YouTubes. X going to give it to you. This is a 7-cost inkable steel character, 5 strength, 5 willpower. All right, here come the keywords. Floodborn, hero, princess, Knigget. You have shift 5. You may pay 5 to put this on top of one of your characters named Cinderella. So clearly there will be a less expensive Cinderella. She can quest for 3. And the ability, the Singing Sword. Now, I did predict we would see this ability sooner than later. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this because some people love it, some people hate it. Her ability is whenever you play a song, this character, this Cinderella, may challenge ready characters this turn. So for people who may or may not have played a lot of Lorcana, This card does a couple things. When you play a song, she can swing into. Oh, I forgot. She also has resist +2. Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the best part about this card.
No, that's not the best part about this
I'm
card.
just saying it adds more to it.
Yeah, so she resists damage by 2. So if you deal 2 damage to her, nothing actually happens. You have to deal 3 or more in order to actually stick damage onto this card. So what's interesting is whenever you play a song, whatever kind of song, doesn't matter, she can then challenge characters that are ready. So before this card was ever revealed, anything that was ready or untapped, whatever term you want to use, you were basically completely safe, completely protected. If you had 19 lore and 1 character unexerted, you were guaranteed to win if your opponent didn't somehow get to 20 before you. There was no way to interact with it, minus removal, bouncing, some kind of special ability. So that's why Cusco is so good, because if he sits on the board unexerted with Ward, you're going to get 3 lore. There's nothing they can do. Cinderella challenges the complete mindset and aesthetic of the game, because if you have a song in your hand and you sing it, she can then take out characters that once were safe. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What are your
When it
thoughts?
says play a song, can you sing a song?
Yeah.
It still counts?
It counts.
Yeah.
It counts.
Okay, good. Okay. I want to make sure, because I don't know, I was really mad. I think it's, out of every card that got revealed, I think it's the only, it's far and above the most playable out of everything they revealed.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think if you look at everything they revealed, this is 9 out of 10 times the most playable card for any steel deck. It's just, there's no reason not to play it, especially if the new Cinderella cost, I don't know, she cost 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like it's the ability Singing Sword is too good to not play it.
Yeah, this is going right into Amber Steel song deck. I mean, it feels like the development team knew that deck was going to be solid, because it just goes right in. It's literally the perfect overlap between Amber and Steel, with the Princess tag, with the song synergy, with it being a Steel with resist. I mean, it just feels like it goes right into that deck. Like literally, this adds one more line of play to the already really diverse Amber Steel deck. So you could do the old faithful Tinkerbell on 3, Shiv Giant Tink on 4, then play your swords, or you can do Ariel on 3, fine grab your sword, play the 4-cost Cinderella on 4, which is in Amber already, and then you can shift this on 5, sing grab your swords, challenge to create something else. Like, it's just perfect. It just goes right into that deck. It doesn't feel like you're forcing it. It's just going right on top of a deck that's already amazing. So that deck is going nowhere.
Yeah, more or less. Like, this card is really good. Like everyone here has been saying, is it great for the game? Who knows? Time will tell, right? But yeah, definitely, one of the cards that you're going to be looking for if you're cracking packs of Rise of the Floodborn.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we've got to that hour time. It's been a lot of fun. We will definitely do this again. James, where can people find you on the interwebs and connect with your amazingly fun and really cool artwork on content?
Oh, definitely. I'm mostly on Twitter or X. I'm not going to call it that.
Yeah.
James Reimer. That's basically Ryan with an R at the end. I also collaborate with other YouTube content creators like you guys, the Illumineers, Lorcana Lumineers. And I produced Lore Madness earlier this year. So I'll do that again in March. Basically a big tournament, a bunch of cards competing against each other. So look forward to that. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks.
Oh,
James.
yeah. It's
Appreciate
been a
you, buddy.
blast. We'll definitely put links in the show note. Any last thoughts before we get on out of here? That was a lot to parse. There's 13 cards. We didn't even have a chance to talk about the Disney 100 cards and their art, air quotes, artwork.
They exist.
They exist. There we go. Well, it's been divisive. We'll talk about that on a future episode. I like some of the art. I don't know about Stitch. I think he's going to mug me. I'm afraid. Very scared.
All else I got to say is may the Floodborns rise. And looking forward to the rest of the set.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening. We will see everyone next time. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. We're on Twitter, Facebook at LorcanaCast. You can also find us on YouTube at Lorcana HQ. And we will see everyone next time. Thanks so much for joining us. And remember, as always, Ohana means family, which means nobody gets left behind and nobody gets forgotten.
The sticky wheels always getting the grease. I'm totally devoted to disturbing the peace, and I'll do it all again when I get it done until